My name is Nicolette Mashila. I'm also known as the Financial Bunny. Welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. And we bring you another episode of My First Time with Money. And I'm quite excited today because I have somebody who is so special. He's not only a seasoned broadcaster, he is just a mastermind. Guys, you know when you sit with somebody and you feel comfortable, you feel like, you know what, I actually adore this person. He's also a published author. How amazing. A musician, award-winning musician. Come on, like, how is it possible that one person can become all these things in one lifetime?
It is too much. But I'll tell you what.
Yes.
It's from watching folk like yourselves and knowing what is possible and never limiting oneself.
Proverb was all these things before he even met me. But of course, you guys can see I am sitting with the verb, proverb. Guys, I'm quite excited today because we're going to be talking about something that is real life. We're going to be talking about money. But of course, we're having a conversation with somebody that most of us really do adore. So, can I have a round of applause for Proverb?
Oh, you're too kind. Can I somehow add to my own applause as well?
Proverb, thank you so much for honoring this invite.
Oh, thank you, Sis Nicolette. I look forward to it.
I love it. I love it. He calls me Sis Nicolette.
Respect.
He's part of my rebrand. You guys know I'm rebranding, right? Proverb, I just want to jump straight into the conversation.
Yes,
I think, you know, money is something that a lot of us, we all define it differently.
Yeah.
What is money to Proverb?
Money for me is an enabler. It enables, freedom, decisions, ideas, creativity. But it's not so much about how much money we can make or get, but more how much money we can keep and pass on.
So when you say it's an enabler, when did you find this out? What happened in your life when you were like, hey, look what I can do because I have some money?
It's already from my childhood, because, I obviously wanted to go to school, wanted to get an education. I had ideas and dreams, and I realized to enable a lot of these, there had to be some kind of capital, some kind of sacrifice, some kind of, giving of money, which my folks, obviously worked very hard to do. But since I've learned, and in my own adulthood, I try and apply what I have learned.
Proverb.
Well, that could either mean I'm really old.
No, province.
Oh, like literally.
Ki jumpa border ya Gauteng, ki jumpa ya Free State, and then I'm in your province, right?
Indeed, yeah,
so let's talk a little bit about the childhood. Let's talk about how you are growing up. What are you being taught about money, if anything?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I did grow up in Kimberley, as you say. I was raised by my grandmother. My folks were studying and were career folk as well.
Yeah.
And, it was a very strict household.
Okay.
From a discipline point of view, but also from a financial point of view. So my grandmother was a principal at a primary school. And I consider myself a little bit of a spoiled brat because, I wanted to play tennis and I wanted to play sports and I wanted to this. But I know it was always a mission for money to be readily available. But what I will tell you, I learned from my folks was they were very fond of paying ahead of time if and when they could.
Okay.
So whether it were accounts, whether it was my school fees, whether it was my, curricular activities, they were really fond of paying ahead of time. And that's probably one of my biggest childhood lessons.
I mean, we all grow up in these black families and we all assume that everything that happens in my family happens in your family.
Sure.
One of the things that we always joke about, is this something that you grew up under?
Look, all I knew is the standard response was, "Haeyo, we don't have kahona." But as I say, my fees were always sort of paid, not only on time but ahead of time. So what I realized is, they prioritized the important things. So I wasn't spoiled in the sense that I got everything I wanted, but I was spoiled in the sense that we never short for anything.
Yes,
you know, because they sort of planned and prioritized what was important.
Yeah. Now, of course, you grew up with Gran,
Yes.
and then you had your parents, and then it's you're a parent yourself.
I am.
Oh, well, of course, your life first, and then you became a parent, right?
Yes,
So there's quite a number of generations that you are now kind of living. So it's very intergenerational.
Sure.
Let's talk about intergenerational behavior when it comes to money.
Yeah.
How are your kids handling money? How do you handle money that is different? How do your parents handle money that's different from how Gogo handled money?
Yeah, it is so interesting. I think, you know, we, as far as my generation, were only exposed to conversations about money much later. You know, when I was a student, when I was in tertiary, only then they said, all right, let's go open a bank account. This is your allocation for the term or for the semester. This is how much you should spend. But I realized now my kids who are 14 and 11 already have their cards. As a matter of fact, just this morning, I got a notification that my daughter was trying to buy something. And it bounced because she was trying to spend more than her allocation. You know, so it obviously means
a teachable moment.
Exactly. So the conversation continues, you know, to say this is the allocation. This is what you allowed to. This is how much you put away. So they know how much they have in their accounts. They've got access to it. They know the password to the safe, which is where all the sort of my will is, the title deeds, etc. So, you know, money is a lot more of an open conversation and not as secretive as it was when we were growing up.
And your parents with your grandmother, if you can remember?
As I say, you know, the conversation was almost exclusively for adults. But I did observe a lot, you know, from their financial behavior and patterns. And that's where I picked up a lot of it. But I must say the conversation only started really when I was coming into my own as an adult. And then inversely with my children, I try and pass on the information now as opposed to waiting for them to be older.
So when you talk about your kids having the password to the safe where the will is, the title deeds are, they kind of have an understanding or they may be beneficiaries, right?
No, they know they're beneficiaries. Listen, so I enjoy property a lot. So whenever we scouting for a new property, we would go with them together. In fact, on one or two occasions, I've even been to an auction with them and I kind of see the process. You know, when I have to get a tenant in there or when I have challenges with my tenants and we have to follow up and I have to get a lawyer, etc. They're all part of the process. It's because I am subconsciously embedding this knowledge
into them,
you know, because they know they are the beneficiaries. They are going to have to continue this. I would hate for something to happen to me and then they sell everything off or whatever the case may be. So I try and empower them to make smart decisions, but empower them now. You know, why wait?
But where do you get this from? Where did you learn all of this? Why is it important for you to ensure this financial literacy that you have, you are passing it on to your children?
Trial and error, making mistakes, making blunders. I have made, you know, many mistakes, but I'm grateful for all of them because therein were all my lessons, you know. So for instance, when I got my first decent check, I was working for DJ Fresh as a technical producer. And I remember sitting with him at the prep station and showing him on the computer the car that I want to buy. And he said to me, my man, do you have a house?
Good question.
And I said, big dog, why don't you get that soldier?
I get talking to man.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Can't sleep in my you know
come on, man. I'm trying to upgrade from my Taz. You know, I'm looking at a Runex or something. You know, and so obviously blindly, I still went and I bought the car.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
You know when you've made a decision, you've made it.
You know what I mean?
Doesn't matter what other people say.
Indeed. So it's those kind of blunders that you were making as a youngster, which, you know, only become lessons later in life. You know what I mean? So I try and sort of make all the mistakes, learn all the lessons, empower my kids to not repeat all those mistakes.
And what are some of the mistakes? I mean, you just spoke a little bit about a teachable moment that you and your daughter have just had about spending less than you actually make, right? And her making is her allocation. What are other mistakes that you have seen young people in South Africa making when it comes to money?
Well, I'm careful about taking those kinds of positions, you know, because I think, you know, our sort of background experiences
very different
in life is very different. So it's unfair to take a self-righteous position and say mistakes young people are making. No. So I can rather speak on the mistakes that I have made, you know, and for me, it's simple things, and I suppose the lessons get more intricate as we go. You know, but from making sort of purchases without having planned, searching for instant gratification as opposed to planning for the future, and things that I have now since learned. I pursued a course in property development and investment, as well as tax law. I'm now doing like an investment course, and things like paying off your property, versus enjoying good debt, and things like positive leverage, where you're getting your tenants to sort of pay for your property. Those kind of things, which are more, I want to say, academic mistakes.
Yes.
Because unless you study it, you wouldn't know otherwise.
Of course.
But those are the kind of mistakes I find myself refining now, and thinking a little bit differently about things. Even when you are buying something, whether it's an asset or just something you want to get into the house, whether it's a business expense versus a personal expense versus so all these kind of intricacies I find I am learning right now, and I'm enjoying that journey.
I love it. I want to go back to the conversation about instant gratification. It's, I sometimes you just want to buy it because I can.
Yeah.
And there are people in this country, and of course we are very well aware, and we're not desensitized the fact that there are people in this country that are living below the poverty line. But there are South Africans that have the money to say, I want this thing now and I want to buy it now. Let's talk a little bit. Where is it rooted, this instant gratification?
I think because we grew up as have-nots, and I'm speaking obviously in general terms. So as soon as you have access, to some money, your first inclination is to go and splurge. Not to mention, it's not taught in schools. And we've already established that our parents weren't having these conversations with us. So where are we to get the lessons? So I honestly fault nobody whose first inclination to say, I've made a little bit of money, let me go and splurge it. But now that we know better, we should do better.
Of course. And I think one of the biggest things that always comes up whenever I have conversation, especially with the youth of South Africa, is the issue of black tax. I have a big problem with the term black tax, but I'm going to park that for now. I'll talk to you about black tax. For you, what is black tax, and how does one circumvent the entire concept?
Look, this is always one I have struggled with. And if I'm to be completely honest, I think because of how I grew up, I may not necessarily be an authority on the subject.
Of course,
because my folks were learned folk, they were career people, so I enjoyed a degree of privilege, and I will own this one. But having said all that, I do think one of the ways to perhaps, and you use the lovely word, circumvent this challenge, come on now, is to make it an inclusive process. I think if we involve our families, if we possibly empower our families, to know, first of all, how is this money acquired, number one. So, you kind of show the entire process. Then you show, look, these are the responsibilities that I have to take care of, including saving some. And thus, this is how I'm also able to support my family. And if we make it an inclusive process, rather than your family every single month just expecting you paycheck and paycheck. But if we make it an inclusive process, I think it's one of the ways, certainly not the only and not the fix-all, but it's certainly one of the ways we can, address the challenge.
I mean, people love saying you can't pour out of an empty cup. Now, I love what you've just said. And that one way that you spoke about kind of segues me into the next conversation I want to have with you about whether or not we're going to take away this taboo label or this taboo that we've made money. And I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to give you 2 seconds to just think about it.
Okay.
Do you tell your partner how much money you earn?
Well, that's an interesting one. For me, I feel like as an individual, it is my responsibility to sort of, have my financial sort of understanding of my world and what works for me before I could try and make my financial world a part of someone else's financial world. So having said that, I don't think, there's any particular rule that says you have to, and bear in mind, I am not married, so I am of no obligation to sort of,
because your states are not joined.
No. But life has kind of taught me that, you should keep your cards to yourself, make your moves, and where it involves another is where you include them, and it should only stay up to there. I mean, just like business partners, I don't have to declare my entire sort of assets and everything else. I have to declare what my business interests are, but you don't need to know the finer details. It's only where our business sort of comes together, and that part we need to be together.
Do you know Kenny Rogers' song "The Gambler"?
No.
At this point in time, I'm going to ask that guy who's editing to play The Gambler right now, because he speaks a little bit about that you need to keep your cards very close to you. But I want to challenge you, because you just spoke about inclusion right now with your family. I'd like to believe that at some point, there are instances where a partner can also be black tax.
Sure. Look,
so if
can I quickly and I'm not trying to exit this next section.
No problem. Yes.
I am no authority on anything relating to partners and things. Right? I am better positioned to comment on my kids and beneficiaries.
Okay.
More than I am things like partners and those kind of things. Continue.
Hold on.
As you were.
I'm going back to the conversation.
Cool.
But not necessarily going back to whether or not a partner needs to be included. I want to talk a little bit about the situation that we're seeing in South Africa. And I just want to find out what your opinion is, right? We're finding that a lot of young women are finding themselves in very, very compromising positions because of money. Because I don't know if there's a culture that is brewing in South Africa where money is now easily available to young women in this country. Just gotta look good. They call it the blessy lifestyle, whatever it's called, right? How do we fix that? How do we, for me, yes, the education is important, but how else can we empower young women?
Sure. Listen, I love that question. And because I am raising a daughter and a young woman, her and I have this conversation regularly.
I love it.
Obviously, I have it at her level, but the fact is we have this conversation. So I speak to her about empowering herself, never relying and depending on anybody, not her parents, much less a guy for that matter. And I use the existing sort of role models that we have, folk like yourselves, where I try and, show them that there are young ladies out there who are doing it for themselves, not waiting on anybody, who are well educated, who are powerhouses. And it sort of plays onto everything that we consume, from the kind of books I let her read, the kind of shows I let her watch, the kind of role models I try and let her formulate her interests around. And that kind of empowering, for me, I think is one of the ways, again, that we can deal with this thing. If from a grassroots level, we can already empower our youngsters to think in a certain way, I reckon by the time they are adults, they can make more informed decisions.
Now, there's a gentleman who wrote, "I Can Teach You How to Become Rich." His name is Ramit Sethi, right? And he speaks quite a lot about money dials. And he says, every single one of us has a money dial. Now, this is the one thing that you don't even think twice. And you've already alluded to property, but I'm sure you do quite a lot of calculated, decision making there. What is the one thing that ProVerb does not do a lot of calculation on?
Fair. That's a fair question.
Yes.
And may I tackle it this way?
Okay.
So I believe in a reward system that I work with.
Okay.
So I say to myself, all right, these are the milestones or the goals that I set for myself. And if I can achieve these, then that bottom line is blank. Then I can go in, and the things that I really enjoy, man, is I love travel. But again, it's that reward system. And if I don't achieve the milestones I have set out, then I punish myself by not rewarding myself.
You do?
I do.
So you actually hold yourself accountable for it?
I hold myself accountable, but for instance, and I was joking with my dad about it. I went to a dealership maybe some 2 years ago. And I said, I want this beast over here. Yes. But then you make a deal with yourself and you say, all right, if I can get so many properties, if I can toss this much into the savings account, if I can put this much into the kids' college fund, if I can, do this, that, and the other. And only when you have achieved all of those, then you walk in there guilt-free.
Yeah.
And you drop the
because
briefcase on
you've
the
done
table.
all of the other
Exactly,
things. Yes.
exactly. That way it's not, you know how they call them guilty pleasures?
Yes.
Then it's a pleasure without the guilt.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how I kind of...
I love that. I love that. And I was about to actually, knowing that there is that pleasure that is waiting for you at the end, is that the one way that keeps you motivated to keep crushing your goals?
Well, it is one of the incentives.
Yes.
But even if the incentive wasn't there, it's about, as I said, if you know better, you try and do better. So it's just about trying to do better on a daily basis, trying to learn. But I reckon those incentives is the spice of life, man. You know what I mean? Because look, they keep showing these things on all these financial posts that I follow, where they show like all these billionaires and they're wearing the same t-shirt and
then they say that
whatever and they're trying to tell us, hey, listen, basically you should live a meek and modest life, and that's the mark of wealth.
Yes.
I don't know if I fully subscribe to that, because life is also meant to be enjoyed. Why do we wake up every single day, go into work, grind and slog the hours and read up and study? Why else? I reckon while we are here, we obviously need to be responsible, but we also need to enjoy this life.
Definitely. Yo, I subscribe to that, guys. I'm just like, listen, soft life, soft aesthetics. This is where I'm at, right? What is the one lesson that you remember? You spoke a little bit about your parents paying things in advance, and that's the one thing that you've taken from them, and you do it right now. But what is the one lesson that is unconventional about money that you learned from your mom? And I'm specific about mom because moms are heroes. Yes.
My mom was always striving to be debt-free at all times, right?
Beautiful. Yes.
But now that's the positive.
Yes.
There's also a lesson that wasn't so positive that I learned from my mom, and it speaks to just our previous point about enjoying life.
Yes.
My mom, for the longest time, always said, my mom's late, by the way. She always said she's going to buy herself, and forgive me for mentioning the brand, a Mercedes-Benz.
Yes, mom.
As soon as she retires. And it was always like a plan and a goal and a goal and a goal and a goal. The year she retired, she unfortunately passed away. And she never got her Mercedes-Benz. So the two prone lessons there is, on the one, obviously strive to be as debt-free as you can.
Yes.
Right? But
live.
The flip side of that coin is live. Enjoy it.
Live. Oh my gosh, I'm so teary.
Enjoy it. Oh, my apologies.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. That is so beautiful. And condolences, of course.
Thank you.
But that is just, it just reminded me that my mom has asked me to buy her a what is it? What is the safest car in the country?
Volvo.
A Volvo. She's been wanting a Volvo. She's been asking for it, and I think it's time. That is such a beautiful story. And such a beautiful lesson also, because it really does go back to what you've spoke about, what you've just said now about, live at the end of the day, ensure that you've done what you need to do. And I always say to a lot of young people, create a checklist for yourself. Ensure that you've ticked off your checklist and then live with the rest. I always say, whenever I do people's budgets and help them with their budgets, have a line of guilt-free money.
There you go.
Because at the end of the day, wabereka.
And listen, guilt-free money is delicious. Be
honest.
Be honest. Because the inverse is true. Have you ever sort of spent money irresponsibly?
Yes.
You don't enjoy it like fully, man, because you know.
Because you know at the back of your mind.
School fees weren't fully paid. I didn't do this. I didn't. But guilt-free. When you're lying on that beach.
Listen. That is how I felt when I went to buy my latest car, because I had planned 5 years to buy this car. And as you say, I spent the last 5 years saving and investing and putting money away and buying property. And I was like, when I bought it, I was like, hey,
there you go.
Because I felt bad. I was like, because people kept saying, how can the financial bunny go and buy such a car? It doesn't make sense. She keeps telling us to save. And I'm like, you don't know. For the last 5 years, I've been planning. And I'm so happy to have done it. It really just, Anyway, this is not about me. So let's talk a little bit quickly before I let you go, because geez, I have taken so much of your time. Let's talk a little bit about your first time now. You said your first paycheck, you wanted to buy yourself yourself, next. No,
No,
Ranex.
I had a Taz.
You had a Taz,
and I just wanted a Ranex, man. It was time to upgrade.
Come on now, So let's talk a little bit about the first time now you are investing.
Yeah.
What investment are you choosing? How much information did you have on it? And is it something that you still believe in right now?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a brilliant question because, man, don't you wish information was as freely available when we were coming up as it is now?
Yes.
Because I wonder if the decisions I would have made, had I been more informed, would have been the same. But having said that, I think I first got, some policies and investments, and I went and got like Satrixes and some shares here and there, and all these companies were putting out shares. It was a thing, the cellular network companies, the multinationals. So, you try and buy here with a 2,000 and here, 2,513, whatever, which was cool. I was happy with that because by the time I wanted to now get into property, I at least had a little bit of a capital to put in. But now that I am as crazy about property as I am now, boy, how I wish I had done that
a little earlier.
Coming straight out of tertiary, because I was in a position to, I definitely could have. And now that I understand how the value of property just continues to grow, I wish I had gotten into property. I also want to add this, if I may.
Yes, please do.
Warren Buffett says, he only invests in things he understands. So me saying property, I don't want it to seem like I'm saying it's smarter than all the others.
Of course,
okay?
yes.
But I am saying it's the one I understand.
Yes.
And knowing what I know now, if I knew it then, man,
you'll be killing the game.
I would be a property mogul.
Come on now, killing the game.
Yeah, but I have no regrets. It's all lessons that have served me.
Yeah, but I've engaged with you quite a number of times, and one of the things that really always stands out is your ability, and not even an ability, I think it's a natural humility that you've got. And you made money quite young. So you did? I
Where
mean,
is
you
it?
were. I mean, your albums. We don't have to talk about them because we know exactly what they did, right? So yes, you did make money. In comparison to a lot of people, I mean, you made money very young, ProVerb. So how did you maintain that? How do you maintain where money does not change who you are?
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm tempted to just to correct you.
Yes.
The thing is, I think the perception is that
you made money.
There's money in entertainment.
Oh, alina chelete.
Look,
busy so.
Look, let me put it this way.
Yes.
I think many people, associate visibility, popularity with success, which isn't necessarily the case.
Yes.
So yes, I was perhaps very visible for a long time.
Yes.
But I can't say I had a grip on finances for just as long.
But hold on. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Are you comparing money now that you know money, to the level that you do, to then?
No, I'm just trying to say, just because I've enjoyed a degree of longevity in the industry, I don't want the parallel to be I've been exposed to money just as long. Because that's not necessarily the case.
Makes sense.
And that was sort of the
setup.
The setup.
The context.
Yeah. Having said that, I think who you are, is not related to money. If anything, money probably just, exposes or amplifies what's already there. So, being a simple kid from a small town just out here to hustle, and now just an ordinary guy doing the very best I can.
Oh, ordinary guy.
No, listen, I really am. I think the accolades, the achievements, the titles have little to do with who I am.
Yes.
In fact, whenever somebody says, I'm such a fan of you, I always think, but you don't know me. You're maybe a fan of what I do.
Of my work.
So there's no connection to who I am. What if I'm a nasty person? You don't know that. Do you know what I mean? So I think money just amplifies what's already there.
Yeah.
And being an ordinary, please let me have it. Being an ordinary guy from Kimberley, I remain who I am. You know what I mean? And it's unrelated to what's in my bank balance.
Yes. Somebody was doing, and this is the last question I'm going to ask you. I know I've been saying it's the last question. There's a young lady on social media who took a 100 Rand note and she threw it on the ground and stepped on it, and then asked the question, what is this? And people kept saying it's 100 Rand. And she took it and stepped on it, and she kind of like did the most with this 100 Rand and said, what is this? 100 Rand. And she asked the question, why then do we as human beings, when we go through experiences, we label ourselves based on the experience? And I know that is not related to money, but I just want to find out what your thoughts are and what gems you can give the youth in terms of, again, going back to the question I just asked you about staying true to who you actually are.
Yeah, I'm with you. Listen, I love that question because my answer is that we are human beings. You know, we are not robots who are immune to challenges, to troubles, and so on. So as I speak about it extensively in my book, you know, I did have...
Go get the book at all major bookshops.
Please do.
Yes.
You know, I have sort of encountered depression, you know, so to sort of pretend that, you know, I'm immune to it and here we are with just the shiny guys on TV all day long, it's not true. And so I cannot stand on a pedestal and say if somebody faces some kind of challenges, right, and they respond to it by having a down, that's what makes you human, you know, but what makes you great is your ability to rise from those downs, you know, but they will definitely come. They will come on a regular basis. They will come in different forms, you know. The devil works very hard, you know, and he works on it regularly to try and always come at you, come and attack you. It just so happens that God works even harder, you know, but not to get sort of, you know, religious on you, because
please do.
You know, but all in all, we're not immune to challenges, and how you respond to them doesn't make you weaker. You're not any less of a human. You are allowed to be down, to appreciate the difficulty of the situation. Just don't stay there. You know, falling is one thing, but staying on the ground is another.
Oh my goodness. I am literally like washed with inspiration. I'm washed with spirituality. I'm washed with just everything that can really make a person great. ProVerb, thank you very much for your time.
This was such a lot of fun.
We really appreciate you coming through, man.
Thank you. I'm glad I could.
Oh, give us that Colgate smile again. His name is ProVerb, and he is a newly published author, definitely making his way to becoming South Africa's best-selling author. So do go out there, major bookshops in South Africa, get his book, get a peek into his life. I know he's still going to write more books, because this man, his experiences, his life journey is something for our children, especially the African child. I'll see you guys on the next one. Mwah, mwah, mwah.